Hey, this is Jeff Towson, Peking University. I'm currently here in Thailand, and the point of this video is forget this term Chinese sharing economy. There is no new Chinese sharing economy. What's going on is digital disruption, and it's much, much cooler. Back in a sec. It's early morning here in Thailand. I'm a couple hours south of Bangkok in Hua Hin. You can see people are starting to wake up. The scooters are coming out like always. Well, and the occasional horse. Now, for those of you who follow my writing research and all this, I basically put out one video and one article per week on digital China, lessons, updates, what's happening with Chinese digital transformation and disruption. So if that's something that's interesting to you, just subscribe, follow, and I put out about one a week. Okay, so why is there no new sharing economy? Because, what is sharing? Can you even define this? Sharing used to mean sort of peer-to-peer lending of sort of physical assets. Like, I've got an apartment, I've got a car, I put them on Airbnb, I put them on Uber, and other people start to use the asset, the supply increases. It's sort of peer-to-peer asset sharing. And that kind of made sense about a decade ago. But let's take that a step further. Let's say instead of one apartment, I buy 5 and I put them on Airbnb. Is that still sharing, or did I just sort of start a rental business here? So once you go from one person to more than that, it doesn't look like sharing, it looks like more like, traditional business. And what if we're talking about assets again, but not physical assets? What about intangible assets like music or videos or TV shows or this video? If I go on Spotify or YouTube and I get a streaming service or watching, I'm sort of accessing assets that other people own, maybe videos created like this. Is that sharing? Not really. It all starts to sort of break down as an idea once you take it a little further. So I would say that's sort of point number one. Forget this term sharing economy. What's going on in China is much cooler than that. It's a little crazy here at the train station. There's people everywhere. So enough of this, I'm out of here. Next up, find coffee. Okay, great success. Caffeinated, feeling much better. You can see behind me a couple of the temples here in Hua Hin. That's a pretty nice one, and then there's this long one you can't really see quite well. So point 2 on this subject is think about access versus ownership. I think that's the key distinction, not the sharing stuff. Whenever I look at a business, I always sort of run through certain questions, and one of the questions I always look through is, what is the process for the consumer? How do they buy? What do they care about? And if you think about that, it's very different if you're accessing something or buying something to own it. Like, if I want to buy a bicycle, that's a very different thing than, say, renting a bicycle. I care about different things. If I buy it, I might think about the style, the make, the durability, the quality versus the price, the maintenance, a lot of things, the branding. If I'm renting the bike, I tend to think more about how convenient is it and what's the price. Now, you can also look at it from the competitor perspective, and this is also the way I think about it. If I'm competing against this business, how do I win? Again, if it's an ownership business, that's very different than if it's an access business. If I'm designing bicycles to sell them, well, I need designers, I need manufacturing, I need branding, I need marketing, I need shelf space, I need distribution, I need a lot of capabilities. If I'm creating bicycles that people can access, the capabilities are very different. I might need a mobile app, online, insurance, convenient locations, things like that. But I worry about very different things. And I think that's the way to think about what's going on in China, especially this year, is access versus ownership. Now, if you look at the world this way, access versus ownership, I think all this makes a lot more sense. We could talk about, you know, ride sharing, Didi, Uber. Well, that's really an access business, that you're accessing someone's car for a while, but your main competitor is taxis. Taxis are another type of access business. You're not really competing with car ownership too much right now. But bicycles, bike sharing, okay, that business is really about accessing these bicycles to ride them around, Mobike, Ofo, versus buying a bicycle. So that's really ownership versus access in that case. So this sort of access economy versus ownership economy, or access business versus ownership businesses, I think that's the way to think about all of this. Okay, final point. What we've really been seeing in China for the last couple years is just a wave of digital disruption based mostly on increased convenience. And it's hitting both access and ownership businesses. So the big digital tools that have come on the scene, mobile payments, everybody's got them now. Smartphones, everyone's got them. GPS, mostly in the smartphone. These tools, when they were applied to owning a bicycle, bike ownership, were just, you know, dramatically more convenient. Suddenly, Mobike, Ofo, I can walk down the street, pull out my smartphone, click on a bicycle, pay for it like that, ride 2 to 3 blocks, click off, leave it, forget about it. That's mostly about convenience disrupting an ownership business. Now, when you look at, say, Didi and Uber, a little bit different. The same digital tools are happening, payments, GPS, smartphones, but it's disrupting an access business, which is mostly taxis. Taxis are an access business. Getting a taxi 5 p.m. in Beijing is not easy. You spend a lot of time waving on the sidewalk, and if it rains, forget about it, go get a cup of coffee, don't even try. Smartphones, Didi, Uber, now just Didi, make that much, much more convenient and sometimes cheaper. Some of these other funny businesses maybe you've heard about, like you get off a subway and it's raining, they have little umbrellas on the subway, you click it with your smartphone, pick up an umbrella, take it home, put it down somewhere else, leave it. Because it turns out carrying an umbrella all day is super inconvenient. Convenience. Now, one of the reasons I think home sharing has not taken off is that you're not disrupting home ownership, you're disrupting hotels, which is an access business, and they're pretty convenient already. Doing it on your smartphone is not that much more convenient, and the big gun you have in Paris and London and New York is decreased price. That doesn't work in China because it turns out hotels are pretty cheap. We don't have as much of a powerful, you know, value add in that area yet. So I don't think we're seeing that. But that's basically my take on this. What we're seeing is a wave of digital disruption based mostly on convenience and price, hitting lots of different types of businesses. And that's basically my take on this. I hope this has been helpful. If you'd like to learn more about digital China, what's going on, just follow me on LinkedIn or go to my webpage, jefftowson.com. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. This is Jeff, Peking University, currently in Thailand.